to meet your needs, and they have so many approved home buyers, they can guarantee you an offer. Plus, the Wallner team sells 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor, licensed in Missouri and Illinois. Rodney and Jen are a husband and wife team, so you're going to get a family perspective when working with them. No obligation, no long-term commitment. You're not happy? Simply change your mind. Rodney and Jen will let you out of the agreement. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team right now, 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. That's Rodney and Jen Wallner of the Wallner Home Selling Team, Berkshire Hathaway, 314-810-SOLD.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here.
Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1,
and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Respectfully, earlier you misspoke in your opening answer. You referred to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism from tonight?
Listen to him.
This concludes tonight's press conference. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone.
4:07, and welcome into the Friday edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. That is President Biden last night at the conclusion of his quote-unquote big boy press conference. I think a lot of Americans, a lot of Democrats especially, were not convinced that the president did what he had to do last night. We'll talk with my partner, who, if you're looking at the stream, is not in studio with me today. He is in Maine. You haven't been running into any moose or anything up there in Maine, have you, Tim?
It's funny you asked that question, Chris, and good afternoon to you and to producer Ethan, who's stepping in today for Joey.
And Emily is here as well.
Oh, fantastic. On the way up to Maine, Chris, on Interstate 95 North, every 15, 20 miles, there is actually a watch for moose crossing sign. I'm not kidding you. It's pretty funny.
And then if you peruse Facebook, you can see these videos where these fools get out of the car and want to take pictures with a wild moose or a buffalo, and the thing ends up knocking them into the next week. Tim, I know you're a smart man. Please don't get out of the car and try to take a selfie with any wildlife while you're up there in Maine.
Not
please.
Recommended. Chris, the only thing you should tangle with in Maine would be a lobster, and you better be careful doing that as well.
Now, Tim, you are on vacation, so I don't know how plugged in you have been into politics. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the president's speech last night, or maybe you watched it today. Your initial thoughts, did the president hit the home run that the Democrats said he needed? Still using the baseball analogy, where would you put his performance last night in baseball terms?
I would say that he made it most of the way to first base. How about we put it that way? Chris, I didn't watch the entire speech itself. I, of course, followed it on Twitter, X, all the social media, read a ton of articles about it today as we were heading up here. And I think the headline from the Spectator World captured it all. Chris, this is funny. Chris, this is how low the bar is for Joe Biden now. The headline on the Spectator World was Biden's President Putin gaffe, because, right, Chris, that's the headline everybody's talking about. Biden's President Putin gaffe wasn't that bad. It's very much in keeping with the Joe Biden that everyone has known for decades. Chris, that's how low we've lowered the bar for the commander-in-chief of the freest most prosperous, most probably fragile superpower nation right now on the world stage.
And I listen to the Democratic podcast, and they are torn, Tim. I mean, they know that the president is underwater now. He's in quicksand, but they still have that innate need to try to defend him and protect him. So you see, on one hand, they talk about his performance last night. He didn't flub up too much. He did okay. It's not enough to sway some of the Democrats that are on the fence, but they still can't let it go. Tim, 18 House members have now joined the ranks asking for President Biden to resign. Latest was Representative Scott Peters. He told Politico that he believes it is time for Biden to withdraw from the presidential campaign. The stakes are high, and we are on a losing course. The next one, Tim, was Representative Jim Himes. He's the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. He issued a statement saying the 2024 election will define the future of American democracy, and we must put forth the strongest candidate possible to confront the threat posed by Trump's promised MAGA authoritarianism. And the last was Eric Sorensen of Illinois, and he issued a statement as well. So the rats are fleeing the sinking ship, as the old analogy goes there, Tim.
And, I think you put that perfectly. They are torn. Chris, I've been talking about this all week, right? I've been saying, yes, they want Joe Biden to go. I never thought we'd see the day, but for the last 2 weeks, this story has had this critical story of Joe Biden, the first critical story of Joe Biden that has had legs beyond 24 hours or so. It has lasted we're going to head into the third week now of this. And on one hand, yes, they want him to go. On the other hand, they don't exactly know how to make that happen. And most importantly, and most critically, they don't know who to replace him with. So yes, you're right. They don't want to completely kill the messenger in case Joe Biden decides to plant the flag and say, I'm not going anywhere. They are really in a tough spot. They're in quite the pickle. I think we're all enjoying eating the popcorn and watching the self-immolation of the Democratic Party.
Exactly. Look, I'm not a medical professional, and like Dr. Tobler said, we shouldn't be diagnosing people from a distance from the way that they're behaving. But I tell you one thing, Tim, that tells me that Joe Biden is not lucid. One of the arguments that they've been trying to use to him to try to get him to withdraw is legacy. Mr. President, think about your legacy. But think about this, Tim. If he was lucid, a man would think about, you know what, you're about to lose in a landslide to a guy who they say over and over is a convicted felon. You probably are going to bring down the Senate, where the Republicans could have a 60-seat majority in the Senate and maybe 30, 40 plus seats in the House. And that's all going to be based on you. Do you want, and with these type of losses, these are generational losses where it takes many, many cycles to get back to where you need to be usually. So would you want that to be your legacy, that you basically single-handedly, because of your stubbornness, destroyed a political party?
Well, Chris, it's not just stubbornness, and I totally agree with you. It's selfishness too, right? The Biden family has wanted to be president for decades. Joe has tried, 3-4 times to be president of the United States. He finally made it. Now there's all these investigations swirling around himself, the Biden criminal crime family. Hunter Biden is literally under 2 felony indictments. One of them has already resulted in a felony conviction. The next trial is September. They've got multi-millions of dollars wrapped up in all of their very questionable, maybe illegal dealings around the world. So, Chris, they're not going to go quietly into the night. But you're right. They are not thinking about the carnage that they may wreak in their wake. This is not just going to take down potentially the Biden family. As you point out, it's going to have ramifications up and down the ticket. We already see it's having a massive effect in Nevada. It's having an effect in Montana. They've already lost West Virginia because Joe Manchin's not running for re-election. So they're in a tough spot. And now, Chris, whereas before, like a month or two ago, we were saying, the House may get lost. The Democrats may pick that up. Now there's been new energy pumped into many of the Republicans in those very close purplish House districts as well.
And Tim, as you remember last week, Hollywood star, the most handsome man in the world, I think, 1997 People magazine, George Clooney, He wrote that op-ed in the New York Times urging President Biden to step out of the race. Another Hollywood person has come out, Tim.
Oh, you don't say.
Actress Ashley Judd. She wrote an op-ed in the USA Today. She said, quote, "The defense of our cherished rights and freedoms, the moral imperative that we better do better by more people and our bodies cannot be left to voters who see and are frightened of the consequences of President Biden's obvious limitations or who are now going to vote. We take the risk of an off night and minimize the warning signs at our gravest peril." Boy, that sounds kind of Kamala Harris in a little bit. Was that a lot of gobbledygook? What the hell did that mean?
Isn't it rich when the left starts talking about rights and freedoms?
Yeah.
I think they're only talking, Chris, about the ones that they make up in their heads.
Well, I'm telling you, a lot of Hollywood people have a whole bunch of money. And a lot of them have Swiss chalets and private islands and everything. And Madonna and others have said that they're going to leave the country. I think Madonna has left the country, but they never seem to leave. And it was funny the other day. Elon Musk did a tweet or an X, whatever they call it, saying that such and such actors have not left yet, and that he will chip in and pay for their way to the other country they want to live in that's better than the United States.
Elon's got enough coin. He could send all of them wherever they want, Chris. I mean, because it's going to be 50% of the cost because it'll be one-way tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Today, Tim, the president trying to off of his press conference yesterday, he is in Michigan. He's meeting with the old reliable constituency. I'm going to let you take a guess. Who do you think he is meeting with in Michigan?
I'm going to take a wild
guess.
Chris, and I'm going to say the big union labor bosses.
That would be a good guess.
Did I get it?
That would be a good guess in Michigan, but it's not, Tim. It's the old reliable constituencies of African Americans.
That would have been my second guess.
That's where he is.
1 and 2.
That's exactly. That's where he is today, trying to gin up support for himself from the African American community. He knows that if he loses the black vote, it's all over. The Congressional Black Caucus, they have stood with him all throughout this. He's also meeting with the ABC Alphabet Caucus of the Democratic Party. He's meeting with the Asian Pacific American Caucus, the centrist New Democratic Coalition, and I think here, if I read this correctly, the Star Wars Bar Scene Coalition. He's going to be meeting with them as well, trying to shore up support.
Hey, Chris, the minute that Congressman James Clyburn, the minute that Congressman James Clyburn throws shade on Joe Biden and says, I'm not so sure anymore, it's over, right? I mean, the fat lady will be starting to warm up her vocal cords at that point.
It's interesting you say that, because I've got a clip, or not a clip, but something written down here from Jim Clyburn. He was on NBC's Today Show. He said, they say, though Clyburn didn't fully close the door on the conversation, he declared he's all in for Biden, though added that if Biden decides to change his mind later on, then we will respond to that. So,
ooh, that's a conditional answer right there.
He's opening the door there just a little bit. Tim, we got a huge show today, my friend. Of course, at 4:20, we will speak with Mark Harder. He's the St. Louis County Councilman. We'll talk to him about the business on the council, and he is the state Senate candidate with less than 4 weeks to go before the primary. We'll ask him how his campaign is going and what the issues are in that campaign. At 5:07, we'll speak with Bill Eigel, Senator Bill Eigel. We'll ask him about the debate last night, the governor's debate at the Parkway West High School. We'll also ask him about the development today where the truly grassroots for Trump slate was reinstated, and he and Secretary Ashcroft will, in fact, be going to the RNC convention in Milwaukee next week. We'll ask him about that development. Of course, 5:07, Speaker Stump Speech.
Yes, sir. We're gonna make the Bill Eigel presentation today part of that, and so I'll make some comments about the debate in conjunction with that. But Chris, I'm also interested. I was shocked when you sent us that photo last night from the debate. You and Becky, Becky were there. Chris, I was amazed at how many people showed up for that and how much interest there was in that. And what further surprised me was the fact that the sitting lieutenant governor running for governor was a no-show. I mean, did you find that amazing as well? Or do you think that he's just I mean, it's not like he's leading by 20 points in any of these polls, right?
Yeah, I was not surprised. I know there's a lot of interest in this race, and the politicos and grassroots folks are really paying attention. We were there last night. Of course, it was standing room only last night, and we've talked about this on the show that I don't know if the Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope strategy the Kehoe campaign is using of just laying on the ropes and just trying to take the punches and win on points. I don't know if that strategy will work, Tim. He does have a lot of money to throw a lot of punches out, but we shall see. There is a scheduled debate, I think, in a couple of weeks that he apparently says that he will come to. I think that's the Channel 5 debate. I have not heard of him backing out of that debate. So I don't know. I think it's 50-50 he shows up personally.
I agree with you. And usually if you're leading by a lot, you don't want to give your challengers the opportunity to punch up at you, and you have to punch down. But every poll I've seen in this race shows that it is extremely tight and actually within the margin of error. So unless the Kehoe campaign is seeing something that we're not, I think it's a real messaging problem for the sitting lieutenant governor to not debate his political opponents and just to act like he's the heir apparent for the office. I just think that's a real problem.
And, Bill Eigel suggested last night at the debate that maybe the reason that Lieutenant Governor Kehoe didn't show up was he did not want to answer questions from the audience and from his opponents about the gas tax. That was an accusation that was thrown out on why he didn't show up last night.
Yeah, it could be true because look, this is a generational shift for Missourians. We have 5 of 6 statewide offices on the ballot, and Jay Ashcroft is a legacy name, but it's not his dad running, it's the son. And so this is a generational shift. These are going to be all new office holders potentially next year. I know we have a couple of incumbents, but they were appointed incumbents and they've only been in office for a year and a half. And so you would think that if you were a candidate, you would want to introduce yourself to as many Missourians as possible. And so I would always encourage people to show up for debates. Again, unless you're leading by like 20 or 30 points and you view your challengers as just, distractions. I don't think you can say that in this case, though. I think the voters need to hear from everybody.
And that will be one of the questions and issues we'll ask Bill Eigel, governor candidate, at 5:07. And at 5:25, we'll speak with Patrick Toohey from the Show Me Institute. 4:22, Mark Harder, St. Louis County Councilman, is up next. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
You know that chick that used to dance a lot? Every night she'd be on the floor shaking what she'd got. Man, when I tell you she was...
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Definitely a warm evening out there as temperatures drop through the 80s. Isolated showers possible, but not really likely. Should stay pretty dry with partly cloudy skies. It's a hot weekend. Saturday's high in the mid-90s. The heat index near or over 100. And by Sunday, we're going to be in the upper 90s, about 97, 98 degrees. And that heat index is going to be getting very close to 105. That's pretty dangerous heat. Air quality is an issue as well. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Sometimes it's hard to know what's real and what isn't.
Right here.
The country is heading in the wrong direction under this president.
We're suffering shortages. America's running out of everything.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Hey, folks, Tim Jones here to tell you all about Window World. Sounds like hot time summer in the city. Sounds like the heat is rolling back in to the heartland. Are your windows keeping the hot air out this summer and the cold air in? If you're not sure, if you're sitting there scratching your head going, maybe I need to check that, you may need to also check out Window World. You should, because they're simply the best for less. You can get a hold of them anytime, 314-993-1800. That's 314-993-1800. One of only 2 window companies in the entire country that carry the coveted Good Housekeeping seal of approval. 20 years in the business in our region. They've already improved the look and thermal efficiency of over 70,000 of our neighbors and friends. A lifetime warranty covers all parts glass breakage and labor. These are the last windows you're going to buy. Yes, I said that. Lifetime warranty, a true lifetime warranty. Think you can't afford new windows in these challenging economic times? Think again. Window World, they're offering 0% financing of up to 36 months for approved customers. Let me say that again. 0% financing up to 36 months. Their commitment to customer service with that lifetime warranty, with those 0% financing plans, with that coveted Good Housekeeping seal of approval, that gives you a package of windows that are fantastic. They're incredibly durable. They're incredibly thermally efficient. There's not a lot. Let me just say this. There's no nickel and diamond. Give them a call today, 314-993-1800. Check out the Window World difference. Any questions, free in-home estimate. Yes, they will come to you. Call them, 314-993-1800. 314-993-1800, 24/7. They are always available at windowworld.com, windowworld.com.
Hey, it's Columbo for Capriotti's Sandwich Shop. Capriotti's is famous for setting themselves apart due to their dedication to superior quality and ingredients like slow-roasted, hand-pulled whole turkey and American Wagyu straight from Snake River Farms. That dedication to superior quality is evident from the very first bite into a Capriotti sandwich. Visit Capriotti's Sandwich Shop 7 days a week at the corner of Manchester and McKnight in Rock Hill, and get more info, including how to impress at your next event with their great catering at capriottis.com.
Liberal mega donors are always looking for new rhinos to do their bidding. And with Adam Schnelting, they found their new star. Adam Schnelting has already backed their radical plan to defund our police. And he skipped countless important conservative votes. Skipped a vote to protect kids from sexually explicit materials in school. And skipped a vote to protect churches from junk lawsuits. It's no wonder Adam Schnelting is bankrolled by Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden's top funders. Bill Cristofanelli is the only leader we can trust to protect our conservative priorities. When radicals tried to defund the police, Bill Cristofanelli passed record funding from Missouri's law enforcement. When Joe Biden left our southern border wide open, conservative Bill Cristofanelli banned sanctuary cities and voted to send Missouri National Guard troops to secure the border. Vote Bill Cristofanelli, the proven conservative, for state senate.
Gladius PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Gladius PAC, and is not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stiefel. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane. Touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues.
I wanted to ask you about your, you mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today. And you now have sort of your key allies, including the British Prime Minister, the President of France, the German Chancellor having to step in and make excuses for you on that. Officials here are saying off the record that your decline has become noticeable. Hasn't this now, frankly, become damaging for America's standing in the world? Thank you.
Did you see any damage to our standing in my leading this conference? Have you seen a more successful conference? What do you think? And the Putin piece, I was talking about Putin, and I said, and now, at the very end, I said, Putin. I said, no, I'm sorry, Zelensky. And then I added 5 other names. Look, guys, the idea anybody suggests that we haven't had an incredibly successful conference. How many times did you hear in that conference, I don't know if it sounds too self-serving, but other leaders, heads of state, in thanking me, saying the reason we're together is because of Biden, because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is anyway.
429 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Tim, I don't know if he is either delusional or in denial or both.
he's a man in decline, Chris. And
That's a
isn't it
third D.
amazing?
Good one.
Isn't it amazing that the media is acting like this all just happened? You don't get to the place where Joe Biden is overnight, but they're acting like it's occurred overnight. Whereas we who were pointing this out over the last 3.5 years, we were just part of the vast right-wing conspiracy. It's ridiculous. The media is just as much, if not more, to blame for the situation the country's in now than just as much to blame as the Biden family.
Well, I'll tell you one guy who is not in decline is Councilman Mark Harder from the 7th District and Senate candidate in the 15th District. Councilman, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Chris and Tim, how you doing?
We are doing fantastic.
Great.
Hey, what? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to comment on that last piece.
Yeah, go for it.
You did there. It's really sad that, like what Tim said, we've known this for 4+ years. It's been going there, and he's been declining. And for Jill Biden, kind of the first enabler, has been bringing him out, propping him up. The media has been propping him up. It's sad that they would do this to somebody of his age and of his stature. I mean, he should just gracefully go away. He's accomplished a lot in his life. Let's call it a day and let somebody else step in.
Mark, I want to ask you, look, I've lived in St. Louis County my entire life, and I remember when St. Louis County executives were all Republican from you know the names. But it seems ever since Charlie Dooley has gotten in, and then we have Steve Stenger, and now we have Sam Page, that it's just one scandal after another in St. Louis County government. The latest here in the paper is about the St. Louis County auditor mistakenly received extra pay, and she didn't give it back. I don't know about you, but if I received an extra $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in my paycheck, I would notice that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would think you would. I mean, this still is under investigation. From what was been reported recently, 2 past chairwomen of the council have given our auditor raises, and because the auditor comes under the budget of the council, and so they gave raises to her, and for the last couple of years, and so what they're saying is the Page administration is now going back and saying, no, you didn't authorize these. You did these the wrong way, and she shouldn't have had this, and she needs to pay it back. So we're in the process of figuring out what is the truth here, and that's very hard a lot of times with the Page administration. So we're trying to find that out and find out where the discrepancies are. We've had problems with our payroll department with people not getting their benefits properly, without getting their pay improper. So this could fall under that as well, or a portion of it. So we're in the process of trying to get to the bottom of it. But these things take so much time because of the lackadaisical nature of the Page administration.
Mark, I've got a follow-up question about the treatment of the council and the executive from the media standpoint. Look, I feel like you that there has been a little bit of criticism leveled at the Page administration. You know, there have been some stories in the Post-Dispatch, the Post-Disgrace over the last few years about some of the follies of Sam Page and, some of the nefarious activities. But I haven't followed it as closely as you. Have they been harsh enough? Have they been critical enough, or does he still get a pass because he's a Democrat? I just feel that if this was a Republican administration, they'd be on them every single day from dawn to dusk, nonstop, 24/7, and they whoever the county executive was, they would have had to have resigned by now. Has it been as critical as it needs to be, or is it needs to be deeper and more introspective?
No, it needs to go deeper. He's been given a pass on a number of issues. They'll report something, but they'll never do a follow-up. And so when you get past that initial, whatever it is, it's the damage is usually what comes after when nobody's paying attention. And so they'll throw things out. They did the same thing with the Stanger administration, and where he ended up in the gated community. So from that standpoint, they don't follow up. The media here is not they always move on to something shinier in front of them, and they don't follow up. And that's where I think a lot of things slip through the cracks in the reporting standpoint of what's going on.
Mark, there was a story a few weeks back regarding County Executive Sam Page offering a St. Louis County candidate a job if she would drop out of the race against his preferred candidate. Is there an investigation going on with that, and what is the progress of that?
Well, no one locally will investigate it. Bell is not going to investigate it. And so the state representative that is in question here filed a complaint with the feds, and supposedly they are looking at it, but they don't talk. You can't get an update from them. We don't know if they're investigating or not. There has been a complaint filed. We'll just have to see where it ends up. But this is pure politics, and it's like Chicagoland brought right here to the Midwest. So it's very disappointing that these consul positions are being sold to the highest bidder for these different favors out there. It's amazing we've gone this far. I mean, I remember the old days of Gene McNary and Roos, and these things would never have come up, even been talked about, much less acted upon way back then. And it just seems that every next consul or every next county executive tries to outdo the one prior in how bad they can be.
Councilman, I want to give you some credit because, even though you and your colleagues are outgunned and outnumbered every single day by both the council and by the county executive, and sometimes you even have a Republican member who I know wanders astray sometimes. You and Councilman Hancock have done, and before you, Councilman Fitch, have done a really good job of reaching across to some of your Democratic colleagues, and you have held the county executive's feet to the fire, and you have brought some attention to some of the budget crises. First of all, would you talk about the current budget situation? I think we were all shocked to learn that after the massive amount of Biden bucks and COVID cash, that the county was suddenly experiencing a deficit. Maybe not surprised because it's Democrats in charge. You can never spend enough. So what's the current budget situation? And what are your current battles with the county executive? And are you having any luck with some of those, politics as weird bedfellows alliances you've been able to craft over the last few years?
Well, we'll take the last one first. Yes, we have been able to put together different alliances and coalitions, and that's been very good because I think there are some Democrats, two in particular, that have a lot of beefs with the county executive. So it was on most issues. It's been, I think, fairly easy for them to align with Councilman Hancock and I on a lot of issues, and we just need 4 votes to pass things. Now, we also need 5 votes for an override of a veto if it goes that far. But we've been fairly successful in just getting the 4 votes on a lot of issues moving forward, and I think we'll continue to do that as the tension between the Page administration and the council persists. So from that standpoint, yeah, there is that, and we are doing what we can to help. As you said, there's really only about 2.5 Republicans on the council, and it's hard to build coalitions on a 7-person council when it comes to that. So we have to get our votes where we can on different issues. Are we going to agree on everything? No, we never agree with anything, and I'm sure you don't agree with your wife on everything. So we're going to try to do our best with what we can. And a lot of these are not partisan issues. A lot of them are budgetary, or they are how we spend money, or how we deal with certain types of personnel matters and things like that. So I think we can continue some of these coalitions going forward. On your other issue, the Page administration is from a budgetary standpoint, we're still in the red, and we'll be there until such time as either spending is hugely cut back or a tax increase comes together. And even with the Rams money, we're using that to fixing our roads so we don't have to raise taxes. I've championed that. We're going to be spending that on that instead of towards the budget. And I'm hoping that we can get some sanity in our budget going forward. The senior tax credit in the future is going to hurt us a little bit, but we've got to figure out a different way of moving that money around to balance out the loss in revenue that we may experience in the future when that senior tax credit kicks in. So we've got some things on the horizon we've got to deal with. We've got stuff in front of us. The budget process starts here in October, and we'll get a better picture of where we stand going forward and decide how we want to vote come end of December for next year's budget.
We're speaking with 7th District Councilman Mark Harder, who is also a candidate for Senate District 15. Speaking of that race, Mark, how is your race going? And what are the issues that you're hearing the most out when you're knocking doors?
The Senate campaign is going great. We're knocking doors, talking to people. Got some ideas from people. A lot of people are very appreciative of what I've done so far on the council and know of me. And I believe I have the upper hand on name ID because of that. And I appreciate that. I think what we're hearing the most, we're hearing about taxation and the different forms of taxation, whether it's the personal property tax or the school taxes or the senior property tax freeze and where we are with that. We're hearing concerns over immigration and our southern borders. People are concerned about that and what is Missouri going to do about it? What can we do about it is going to be a big issue. We're hearing things about our road network and our infrastructure. And so those are things that fall right in my wheelhouse. And I'm going to be championing those things as I get in the Senate to try to find solutions. There's not easy solutions. We just got to make intelligent choices on a lot of things going forward. And those seem to be the ideas that are out there the most right now. And we're gonna do what we can to try to fix them for people.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir. Mark, before we let you go, if folks are interested in that Senate race, how can they find more information about you, about the campaign? How can they get involved? And what are you going to be focusing on in these, my goodness, barely last 3 weeks of the campaign?
Sure. Our focus is door knocking. We've got a sign war going on right now in West County. And so we got signs everywhere. All the candidates for that matter, two of the three candidates. One of the candidates doesn't show up at things like forums and things like that, but that's his loss. But the rest of us, we're going to focus on meeting people, going to activities. I'm going to be having an event coming up at the range in Baldwin to celebrate our Second Amendment and to talk about Second Amendment issues. That's going to be coming up on the 24th of July. And we're going to be out and about and talking to people as we've been every week in the last probably 3 months. So see us out there, see a lot of ads, and then you can go to Mark for Missouri, FOR Missouri.com, and you can donate there through the WinRed application, or you can send a check to our campaign at and there's the P.O. boxes in there as well. So you can get that information, or you can email me at mark@markformissouri.com, and we can have a chat.
Go ahead and give me your Snapchat, your YouTube, and your Facebook, and your all that stuff. You got more social media there, sir?
No, we try to keep it simple. We got rid of the AOL account and all those others. So no, we try to keep it simple and go right there.
I like simple. That is Councilman Mark Harder, 7th District. He's also running for the 15th District Senate seat here in Missouri. Mark, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, my friend, and we will talk to you soon.
You too. Talk to you next week.
Thank you. 444, about 447, we'll have Chris's Corner. We'll talk more about the fallout from President Trump's press conference, President Biden, press conference last night, and more reactions from Democrats. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps. And 507, we're going to have Senator Bill Eigel to talk about the debate from last night. So we've got a lot coming up. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk, STL, #1 for live and local conservative talk.
Boy, you got a prayer in Memphis. Muriel plays piano every Friday.
What we do is if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do? Put it up to 11, exactly.
And they asked me if I would.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Definitely a warm evening out there as temperatures drop through the 80s. Isolated showers possible, but not really likely. Should stay pretty dry with partly cloudy skies. It's a hot weekend. Saturday's high in the mid-90s. The heat index near or over 100. And by Sunday, we're going to be in the upper 90s, about 97, 98 degrees. And that heat index is going to be getting very close to 105. That's pretty dangerous heat. Air quality is an issue as well. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Gerhardt.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Will Joe Biden still be running for re-election come Monday, or will his party find a way to push him aside? We've got the update for you on Monday's show.
Mornings starting at 5:30
on News Talk STL.
Hey, folks, let's talk a little comprehensive chiropractic as we head into the weekend, because it is summertime, which means you're going to be out and about, right? As you are every weekend in the summer, doing all kinds of weekend warrior stuff. If you pick up any injuries, if you aggravate an old one, you pick up a new one, I don't want you to worry. I just want you to give Comprehensive Chiropractic a call. Maybe even give an advance call this afternoon and set an appointment for Monday. Make sure you tell them that News Talk STL, the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show sent you, because they've got all kinds of introductory specials for new clients. They want to know that you're hearing our message, and we would appreciate that as well. Comprehensive Chiropractic is the region's premier chiropractic and sports performance facility. Yes, it's located in my beautiful hometown of Eureka. However, they service the entire region. They have clients, the customers, patients that travel near and far. Why? Because they're the best at what, you may ask? How about treating everything? I've been going there for, my goodness, probably close to 2 decades. I have referred a ton of patients into Comprehensive Chiropractic in my family, in my friendship circles, amongst the News Talk STL Nation listeners and beyond. Why? Because they can take care of everything, head to toe, right? And they don't just, as Dr. Fader would say, we don't just crack the back and send you on your way. Yes, they do all the chiropractic manipulation that makes you feel oh so much better, puts everything back into place, but they also spend time to speak with you and find out what's causing the more chronic symptoms. Maybe something with your diet, maybe something with your sleep patterns. They have got holistic fixes for all that and so much more. Now, those of you suffering from the real serious stuff, or maybe somebody in your family, peripheral neuropathy. The symptoms of peripheral neuropathy, numbness, tingling, burning pain. It's horrible. They have got a sister organization. Literally, it's the next door. It's like right there. It's on the same piece of ground. That would be Dr. Kim and Sean Patton at Comprehensive Integrative Healthcare. Husband and wife team, 95% success rate with their Restore Neuropathy program, improving the symptoms of neuropathy 60 to 100%. That's amazing. For those of you who suffer from that or have family members, sometimes it's an off effect. It's a side effect of diabetic situations. You know how damaging it is. It ruins lives, but at Comprehensive Integrative Healthcare, they're giving people a new lease on life. I want you to check out both these businesses. It's easy to do. Just pull up your internet search engine when you're not driving and type in Comprehensive Chiropractic, okay? Both businesses will pop up. Comprehensive Integrative Healthcare, CIH.health. Comprehensive Chiropractic, cchiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Feel the sizzling heat of summer savings at Seidenstricker Nobe Partners. Rev up your summer on a John Deere compact tractor with 0% financing for 84 months with zero down. Or get 0% financing for 60 months with additional savings. It's time to elevate your equipment game. Don't let this sizzling hot deal slip away. Seidenstricker Nobe, your partner for the land.
Offer valid through 7/26/2024. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Dreaming of upgrading your outdoor space?
STL Fenceworks is the choice for you. Our skilled craftsmen build custom fences from modern vinyl to classic ornamental, fitting your style and budget. Elevate your outdoor living with low-maintenance decks designed to relax and entertain. We choose only top-quality American-made materials, ensuring your project is built to last. Your satisfaction is our passion. With over 50 years of experience, custom designs, and exceptional customer service, visit stlfenceworks.com today.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stiefel. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Just a young gun with a quick fuse. I was uptight, wanna let loose. I was dreaming of bigger things and wanna leave my old life behind. Not a yes, sir, not a follower.
Now, on the political scene, one of the Democratic candidates is Senator Joseph Biden. Have you seen the problem he's been having? He went around and made a speech. And apparently, he quoted I think it was a British politician, took his speech and kind of paraphrased it as his own. And then the press got on him. And then he was charged also with taking part of Bobby Kennedy's speeches. And Biden says, not to worry. He reassured his staff. He said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
451 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And you know what's really sad, Tim? Not only that Joe Biden is a plagiarist and now he is a demented old man, but that Johnny Carson clip right there. There are two people in the studio with me right now that have no idea probably who Johnny Carson is or his legacy on late night television. And they're just making me feel really old.
I love Carson.
You've been watching like YouTube videos of him or something, haven't you? Yeah. You guys make me feel old. Tim, wow. We've all known that Joe Biden is a plagiarist and a liar. Johnny Carson did that skit back then. It's funny. I wish we had Joe Biden actually plagiarizing this British MP, because it'll really show you just how much of decline he has gone in such a relatively short period of time. You know, it was 40 years ago, 88, 36 years ago. But just from the Obama administration, he's had a rapid decline from there.
He has. And Chris, you know, if folks want to look something up, the clip, Chris, that I often think about when we have these clips that show Joe Biden in just such a cognitively, what's a nice way to say it? Cognitively challenged. Do I need to be nice to Joe Biden? I don't think I really need to be. But Chris, the one I think about is his ridiculous, bordering on just abject racist cross-examination of Clarence Thomas back in the 90s, right? The 90s. Yep. When Justice Thomas was being considered for the Supreme Court, which he did make it on. Joe Biden, as ridiculous as he was back then and still is now, he was a fast talker. He could string together sentences. And yeah, Chris, it's evident. Just go back and listen, as Chris said, or as I'm suggesting, to any Joe Biden clip from the 90s or even the early 2000s, and you will see the decline for yourself. And Chris, the media acts like they just woke up yesterday and realized that he was in such bad shape.
All right, let's go ahead and knock out a Chris's Corner.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Tim, I talked about at the beginning of the show how the Democrats, day after Joe Biden's press conference, were trying to cover for him and say that he didn't do all that bad. Well, we've got a poll out today that is just as bad. I mean, this poll is suspect to the nth degree. An NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll found that Joe Biden, listen to this, Tim, I'm glad you're sitting down. This poll says that Joe Biden actually gained a point since last month's survey, which was taken before the debate, according to NPR. They said, quote, in this poll, he leads Donald Trump 50 to 48% in a head-to-head matchup, but slips when third-party options are introduced, with Trump holding the slightest advantage, 43 to 42. Now, here's the part of the poll that is just absolutely ridiculous to me, and it helps to lose all credibility. It goes on to say that the poll also found that at this point, listen to this, they said this with a straight face, no other mainstream Democrat who has been mentioned as a replacement for the president on the ticket does better than Biden in this poll. Wow. That's what? Yeah, that is not believable at all. You know, Hakeem Jeffries, he's part of the CBC's this speaker in waiting, of course. He has stood steadfast with President Biden, but today he sent out a Dear Colleague letter expressing concern about Joe Biden's candidacy. He said that he was going to talk to the caucus, and they're going to talk about next steps forward on the president, what he should do. So the support is cracking. I'm telling you, if he ever loses Nancy Pelosi, it is definitely over. There has been one senator, as we mentioned, from Vermont who has not sided with Joe Biden, has asked for him to resign. Senator Chris Coons from Delaware, state just down the Joe Biden senator here, said he's urging his colleagues to keep this a family conversation and not work through their emotions or concerns in editorials and public speeches. You'd expect him to try to run interference for the president, but I think it's a little too late. You know, Tim, we've talked many times about how Texas is a red state, but it seems to be kind of trending blue and maybe a little purplish. And then when we think that, you know, Ted Cruz and these other Republicans, they win big in Texas. I've said many times that if Texas ever goes blue, Republicans will never win a presidential election again. As you know, Ted Cruz, he is up for re-election this year. Democratic Representative Colin Allred is running against him. Not many people have given him much of a chance, but a University of Houston, Texas Southern poll shows that he only trails by 3 points, 47% to 44% against Ted Cruz in a survey, as I said, from the University of Houston and Texas Southern University. In Texas, in this poll, Donald Trump leads by 9 points. So that scares me. There is Ted Cruz in trouble in Texas. That's not a good sign for him. And that is Chris's Corner. The minute we got left there, Tim, what's your thoughts on Cruz in maybe a statistical tie with the Democrat?
Yeah, I think Senator Cruz is an excellent campaigner. I think he'll end up pulling this out. I think Republicans will come home on this, especially with the renewed problems that Joe Biden has. However, it's a point worth making in that this is what Democrats are trying to do, Chris, with this unfettered, unmitigated immigration crisis that we have.
Mm-hmm. And coming up, 5:07, we will speak with Bill Eigel, Republican, excuse me. God, don't kill me, Bill. Republican candidate for governor. And at 5:25, Patrick Toohey, listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, Soros Free Radio.
For the masses, who do you think you are? Dreaming about being a big star.
Attention homeowners and businesses. AMF Electric has been your trusted partner since 1985. For your home, our residential experts treat every project with the utmost care and importance. From simple repairs to complete renovations, we've got you covered. Businesses, our commercial team handles all types of construction with expertise and efficiency. Even clients from out of state request our top-notch services. Available 24/7. We're just a call away at 314-647-4066 or amfelectric.com.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Congratulations to the awesome team at Connor Roofing for earning the 2024 National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction. Connor Roofing has now won back-to-back honors because they do outstanding work in all types of roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. We chose Connor Roofing without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor. Their customer reviews are some of the best in the country. Please read them. Visit ConnorRoofing.com and request an estimate. Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor.
St. Louis is all about sports, and now is your chance to take home a one-of-a-kind Cardinals jersey. On Saturday, July 27th, the Birds on the Bat host the Washington Nationals, and that night, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will receive a Cardinals basketball jersey presented by Air National Guard. Don't miss your chance to add this unique jersey to your collection. That's the Cardinals basketball jersey, Saturday, July 27th. Get your tickets today at cardinals.com/promotions.
Hola amigos, this is Cardinals broadcaster Polo Asensio, inviting you to join us on Sunday, July 28th, when the Cardinals host the Washington Nationals. On this day, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will take home a Cardinals polo. No, not me. A polo shirt featuring an STL all over print design. Thanks to Busey Bank. This is the first promo of its kind, so it's one you don't want to miss. Get your tickets today at cardinals.com/promotions.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Steve Peters reporting. President Biden isn't budging even though more and more lawmakers are calling for him to end his re-election campaign. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
At this week's press conference, the president said he will stay in the race until his staff says there's no way he can win.
No one's saying that. No poll says that.
He also fielded a question about whether Democratic delegates can vote their conscience at the August convention.
If all of a sudden I show up at the convention, everybody says we want somebody else, that's the democratic process. It's not going to happen.
The president said there's no indication that he can't get the job done. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Actor Alec Baldwin's involuntary manslaughter trial in New Mexico was put on hold Friday.
Alec Baldwin's involuntary manslaughter trial was put on hold while the judge considers a defense motion to dismiss the case over disputed ammunition.
I'm going to recess you for the day.
Judge Mary Marlowe Sommer sent the jury home after a hearing on the issue that was supposed to precede resumption of the trial, raised more questions, and called for further testimony. The defense filed its motion over what it says is ammunition evidence the prosecution hid from them that may be related to the shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the film Rust in 2021. I'm Haya Panjwani.
This summer's extreme heat is raising the danger of heat-related illnesses and threatening health in a more subtle way by amplifying the side effects of many common medications. Blood pressure medications can lead to dehydration. Beta blockers for heart conditions can decrease blood flow to the skin and make you less aware of dangerous heat. And some antidepressants can hinder your ability to stay cool. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 247 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-504-8790. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-504-8790. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-504-8790.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. 5.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Definitely a warm evening out there as temperatures drop through the 80s. Isolated showers possible, but not really likely. Should stay pretty dry with partly cloudy skies. It's a hot weekend. Saturday's high in the mid-90s. The heat index near or over 100. And by Sunday, we're going to be in the upper 90s, about 97, 98 degrees. And that heat index is going to be getting very close to 105. That's pretty dangerous heat. Air quality is an issue as well. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
To investigate claims of voter fraud by non-citizens was disbanded without identifying one single case. If we believe in the power of democracy, we should reject discriminatory rules rooted in fear and division and instead increase protections and expand access. This bill, they call it the SAVE Act. It should be called the Don't Let Americans Act. Don't Let Americans Vote Act. And so I rise here opposing and asking my colleagues to vote no on this bill. I yield.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
5:06 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and we're going right into it. Tim, you ready for a stump speech, my friend? Or are we producing on the fly? Is Tim here? Uh-oh. Hey, welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Big announcement today from the RNC that the original delegates, the Grassroots for Trump delegation.
Ethan?
We hear you, Tim. Is you there? Tim, you there? Okay.
Ethan?
We will soon. We're going to have Senator Bill Eigel on from the Republican governor's debate. Was last night, and we'll ask him about that. I did have a chance to be there, and we'll ask him, as I was talking about the truly Grassroots for Trump slate, which was reinstated today by the RNC. I want to give my congratulations to everyone that is on that slate. Bill Eigel and Secretary Ashcroft are two that are on there. We've been promoting all week that Tim and I will both be at the convention. Tim will be at the convention next week. I will not be at the convention. I will be in here in studio all week. So I want to wish and congratulations to all of the truly Grassroots for Trump slate. I know that you will represent Missouri well in Milwaukee next week as we renominate President Trump to be the next president of the United States. Do we have Bill on, Ethan? Bill, how are you, sir?
I'm doing
Senator
fantastic,
Eigel.
guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We have Tim. We're having a couple of technical difficulties here, but we will have Tim on. But first off, as we said, I want to ask you about the reinstatement of the truly Grassroots for Trump slate this morning. I want to congratulate you and your team for all of the hard work that you did. Talk about what happened today.
Well, as you just said, instead of letting the swamp win, when the swamp came in and tried to override the voices of more than 900 state convention delegates down in Springfield, the RNC made the right call today and reinstalled the slate that state convention chose. So instead of being disenfranchised, instead of being silenced by the swamp, the original slate of duly elected delegates is going to be able to move forward. And I've been calling for this since the original decision to disenfranchise those delegates became public. I've been calling this an outrage. This was a travesty. I had called on Nick Myers, the party chairman, to consider his resignation if he couldn't get this fixed. But ultimately, it ended well. This story had a happy ending, and the delegates that are going to be in there in Milwaukee showing up to vote for Donald Trump are the ones that Republicans from all over the state of Missouri showed up in Springfield to elect. It's a good day for the state GOP.
Again, we are speaking with Senator Bill Eigel, who, of course, is running for the Republican nomination for governor. Bill, I don't know. Did you hear that clip coming in of that Representative Delia Ramirez getting angry because a bill was introduced to require the citizens to have proof that they are citizens in order to vote? I was at the debate last night at Parkway West, and I know the question of non-citizen voting and illegal immigrants in general came up at that debate. Talk about that and some of the debate.
Well, I tell you, I don't know of anyone that thinks that we should have non-citizens voting in our elections, and yet we've seen in some of the bluest states in the country, that's exactly what's happening, that non-citizens are being allowed to vote in some of the local elections that happen at the city and county level. And these are states that have the same language in their constitution that only somewhat prohibits non-citizens from voting that Missouri has in their language. So we've been trying to make sure that non-citizens can vote. And I believe there's going to be a measure on the ballot that we're going to see in November where I expect that to take effect. And I can't believe that this is the conversation that we're actually having in America today. The idea that we would ever let non-citizens vote in any of our elections is just a bizarre occurrence that I think that we're going to get beyond this pretty quick. But we're going to continue to protect our republic from folks, particularly folks who are here illegally. That we've been talking about this in the gubernatorial race, because I've made a commitment that on my first day as governor, we're going to declare an invasion of this state, thanks to the decision that Joe Biden made to open up our southern border. And we're going to detain and deport every single one of the 77,000 illegal immigrants that are estimated to be in our state right now. So we're really missing leadership. I think this is something we're going to be able to overcome.
Mr. Speaker?
I think I'm back, Chris.
All right. Yes, we do.
All right, very good. Senator, great to have you on with us again. Senator, speaking of the gubernatorial campaign, my understanding is, and I'm actually coming to you remote from the beautiful environs of Maine, but I was watching last night with great interest the most recent gubernatorial forum, the candidate forum. I think that's the first time that a candidate forum has been offered since February's Lincoln days, where all of you were invited to be on the same stage at one time. Senator, my understanding is that one of the leading candidates, and I think it's a three-way horse race right now, no matter what poll you look at, Lieutenant Governor of the state of Missouri, Mike Kehoe, decided not to show up for this candidate forum. What do you think about that 3 weeks before Missourians are going to head to the polls?
Well, I got to tell you, Tim, that if I had the same voting record in the legislature that Mike Kehoe had when he was a state senator, I'd be pretty afraid to show up and answer those kind of questions in front of the voters to begin with. Here's the reality. Mike Kehoe is effectively a Democrat if you go by his beliefs in and how he's been voting while he's been in office. And his unwillingness to stand in front of the Republican electorate and answer some tough questions about why he decided to sell Missouri's farmland to foreign countries back in 2013, why he decided to support the gas tax increase for every time an increase in gas taxes come up. He's unwilling to do that. And if he can't do that, if he can't find the courage and the backbone to stand in front of the voters and explain to them why a Democrat ought to actually be the nominee for the Republican nomination, I don't think that he deserves a single vote from a single Republican anywhere in the show me state. So if he's going to continue to be a coward, that's fine. My message is winning in this. We are surging in everything from the polls to the energy and excitement on the ground. I'm traveling around the state right now. I just got done with an event in Windsor, Missouri. We've been in Sedalia. We're going to be heading to more events this evening. We're going to be in Clinton here in a little bit. So I'm excited. I'm not avoiding Republicans like Mike Kehoe is. I'm looking for Republicans because I know that the message I have is the one they want to support.
Senator, when you get down to the end of a campaign, you have what a lot of people call attack ads. Some will call contrast ads. I know couple of the planks of your campaign is that regarding the gas tax being raised and Chinese land and all of that. There is a PAC that is supporting Jay Ashcroft that are putting out ads saying that you supported those things as well in the legislature. A lot of people get confused because stuff like that goes back and forth. Address that, those ads, sir.
Yeah. So this is how you know we're winning. In fact, it just happened. It just started a couple hours ago that a PAC put out that's trying to put out a hit on me. And the reason that they're going to start attacking me now and lying about me is because they know they're losing. Of course, this was going to happen. And you know what? I've been attacked in Jefferson City for the past 8 years for being a state senator that became who I promised I was going to be in campaign season, right? And the swamp doesn't like voices that don't comply with the swamp. So my establishment opponents are going to start attacking me. I'm prepared for that. But my message of a Missouri that's going to be a leader in these United States, my message of a Missouri that is going to do the things that we only get promised, whether it's getting rid of personal property tax, whether it's protecting our farmland, whether it's supporting the illegals in our state, whether it's protecting our children from all this nonsense that's being put in our schools, Missourians are going to choose that message. And it couldn't come a moment too soon. As I'm fond of saying, let's go, Missouri, because America needs us. So I think that message is going to win the day. I got attacked for my reelect to the state Senate back in 2020, just like what they're doing now. And I won that race by a wide margin because people are looking for a positive message about a better future, not just attack ads that are built on lies.
And Senator, to drill down on that point a little bit, I've had a lot of conversations. You know, people stop Chris and I all the time because they presume that we know what we're talking about because we've been engaged in this world of Missouri public policy and politics for, hate to say it, going on decades now. And, Senator, some people, they haven't yet focused in on this race. It's the middle of summer. They're now just realizing, oh, my goodness, yes, there's actually a primary. First of all, Bill, this is the most critical election, right? If people are waiting to vote for the right Republican in November, they're going to miss their opportunity. So talk about the importance of these August primaries for your race and others. And secondly, folks need to really understand the different records of the different candidates in the gubernatorial race, right? Because everybody may think that all Republicans are created equal in this state, but there's some Republicans who have pushed and promoted gigantic tax increases, who have been soft when it comes to labor reform, when it comes to standing firm on the issues of life and so forth. So there is a big difference between the candidates, and the way to express that option and choice is in August, not November, right?
Yep, that's right. Missouri has already decided repeatedly in election after election that they want the Republican brand of leadership, of limited government, more efficient government. They're not buying the Democratic message of defunding the police and allowing our cities to descend into chaos. Now, you're absolutely right that in August, we have a decision between basically three candidates. Two are the establishment in Mike Kehoe and Jay Ashcroft. And Mike Kehoe is actually closer to the Democrat template of his philosophy on the role of government, because he's been helping my person grow government to a record size down in Jefferson City these past 6 years. He's the one that supported the gas tax increase. That's why we call him Tax Hike Mike down there in Jefferson City. He's the one that's voted to sell our land to China and other foreign countries down in Jefferson City. That's his record. That's why he's not showing up to these debates, because he knows he's going to get asked about it. So, or you have in my candidacy, I'm the only one that's actually voted on the Senate floor and become exactly who I promised I would be in campaign season. The American Conservative Union, those are our friends over at CPAC, rated me as the second most conservative Missouri senator to serve in modern history, behind only my friend Eric Burleson. So this is a key, whether or not we're going to elect somebody who's going to confront the status quo, that's going to confront the swamp. I've made a habit of making the swamp uncomfortable down in Jefferson City. That's why the status quo hates me so much down there. And imagine they're shocked when on August 6th, Missouri shows up and does something they can't even imagine. That's why I'm excited. Let's go, Missouri.
Senator, as we stated earlier in this interview, that you will be one of the delegates next week in Milwaukee. What are you expecting to happen at the convention? And who do you think President Trump will choose as his vice presidential nominee?
Well, we're going to elect Donald Trump as the nominee, of course. That's what's going to happen. And there's going to be a lot of energy and excitement as the eyes of the nation really shift towards Milwaukee. As they see that, I think the country understands that it's all crumbling down around Joe Biden, because he's led our country into chaos and disaster time after time for the past 4 years. They know that Donald Trump's going to be the same disruptor in Washington, D.C. that, quite frankly, I'm proposing to be down in Jefferson City. So a lot of good things are going to happen down in Milwaukee over the next week. I don't know who he's going to choose, and I don't want to presume to try to even take a guess at that. I think there are several qualified candidates. I know that whatever decision he makes, we're going to be happy with it, and we're going to move towards a November election that I think we're going to do very well.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes, sir. Speaking to Senator Bill Eigel, who is a senator here in the great state of Missouri, he's candidate for governor. That election, folks, Tuesday, August the 6th. Senator, it seems that there is this great migration occurring around. I'm not talking about the illegal immigration crisis. I'm talking about the migration crisis within the 50 states. We have seen over the last couple of decades that the proof is in the pudding when it comes to state policies, and that definitely has been influencing where people want to live, work, and raise a family. I think the COVID crisis really exacerbated that. Senator, we seem to be kind of stuck in the middle. We're kind of middling, not only by geography, but also by population growth and GDP growth. The northern and the eastern states seem to be losing lots of population. The western states seem to be gaining. How can Missouri not lose out on this great migration of people and prosperity around the nation?
Yeah, great question, and it's actually a really straightforward answer. We need to be following the planks of the platform that I've identified. We're going to get rid of personal property tax. We're going to get rid of income taxes in the state. We're paying twice the amount of money for the same services that those other big red states that you're talking about pay for. We have a huge spending problem in this state. We've been betrayed by a center-left coalition that includes Mike Parson and Mike Kehoe down in Jefferson City, and we need to get away from that. We need to get back to the roots of the founding principles of a GOP that was built on reforming all this broken government and making it so that we can compete with those other big red states. It's not happening right now because as the Missourians are right now struggling with a tax burden that's heavier than it's ever been before, Mike Kehoe and Mike Parson are down in Jefferson City talking about and slobbering over the Kansas City Chiefs and Kansas City Royals and trying to figure out how they can shovel $1 billion at those billionaire owners to give them a brand new shiny stadium. I mean, that's crazy. I keep thinking to myself, is $18 for a hot dog not enough for those billionaire owners? But that's how disconnected the status quo has become and is exemplified by Mike Kehoe. And if he becomes the governor of the state, we're just going to be getting more of the same, and Missouri will continue to stagnate.
That's Senator Bill Eigel. He is the Republican candidate for the governor of Missouri. He's also a state senator, of course, and he is a delegate to the 2024 RNC convention. Senator, have a great time next week in Milwaukee. Represent us well, and have a great weekend.
Great, guys. Thanks. Have a great night. We'll talk real soon.
Excellent. And before we go to break, Tim, you got something you want to chime in there, sir?
No, Chris, I think we did that as part of the we did the stump speech as part of that segment.
Oh, not stump speech. I mean, did you have a closing thought on Bill's interview there?
Yeah, no, thank you. No, I think, Chris, look, again, the way we started the show was this was one of the topics we discussed, and it's almost as disconcerting to me as Joe Biden's decline is to hear that the sitting lieutenant governor of the state would not show up for a candidate forum 3 weeks before the election. I'm trying to get in the minds of those consultants, and if you're way out in front, you don't want to be punching down and giving your opponents the opportunity to punch up. But this is not the situation. All the polls I've seen show this so far. It has been almost a dead heat between Ashcroft and Kehoe, with Eigel very closely behind and gaining. So I just think it's a real shame and a missed opportunity for Lieutenant Governor to give his message to the people of Missouri. Like, where's he stand on all these issues that Ashcroft and Kehoe are telling the folks where he might be?
And what this also tells me, Tim, as a political strategist, is that maybe Kehoe's strategists don't have a good explanation for the tax increase, and that he sponsored the gas tax increase. And so he doesn't have a good answer to give if he's questioned about that in a debate. I'm not saying that's the reason, but it kind of makes you maybe think that we can't come up with really a good reason why or he can refute this. And so we're just going to not show up.
It'd be interesting to hear, Chris, if the media, the print media, the digital media, the radio media, if any of us get the opportunity, if any of our colleagues get the opportunity to interview him over the next few weeks, perhaps we could ask him these questions and find out the answers.
I'm not going to hold my breath on him coming to show up. Then when we come back, we're going to speak with Patrick Toohey from the Show Me Institute. We're going to ask him about his latest article talking about the KC streetcar that isn't driving economic development. And we'll ask him in the near future will be saying they are the Kansas City, Kansas Chiefs. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Oh, but I need some time off from that emotion. Time to pick my heart up off the floor. Oh,
I have only 5 words for you. From my cold, dead hands.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Definitely a warm evening out there as temperatures drop through the 80s. Isolated showers possible, but not really likely. Should stay pretty dry with partly cloudy skies. It's a hot weekend. Saturday's high in the mid-90s. The heat index near or over 100. And by Sunday, we're going to be in the upper 90s, about 97, 98 degrees. And that heat index is going to be getting very close to 105. That's pretty dangerous heat. Air quality is an issue as well. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Hey, sand volleyball junkies. Feel the rush and show off your skills for our brave first responders. Join the David Dorn Foundation's Top Gun Maverick Sand Volleyball Fundraiser Tournament Saturday, August 31st. Enjoy Oh So Good Barbecue from Sugarfire, a splat gun tent for an energy charge, and DJ Peasy Montana to keep you entertained. Saturday, August 31st at the Sugarfire location in Wentzville. To protect, to serve, to spike. Sign up today at dornfoundation.com.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Looking for a way to support our nation's heroes? Vet Jobs has been helping military veterans, service members, and their spouses find employment for over 20 years. Join them at the ballpark on Sunday, July 28th, as the Cards take on the Washington Nationals for the Salute the Services game. A portion of every ticket sold through Vet Jobs will go towards their mission of securing jobs for our brave veterans. Make a difference in the lives of those who have served our country. Learn more and get tickets at newstalkstl.com/vetjobs.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
If you leave me now, you'll take away the biggest part of me. Ooh, no, baby, please don't go.
527 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps. And I got to tell you, Tim, Ethan is super producing here today. We actually are going to have Dr. Aaron Hedlund on today from the Show Me Institute. He is on the line with us. And I hate to throw you this curveball. I think Dr. Hedlund has a theme, Ethan.
All right, let's listen to it. Here it comes.
All right. There it is.
What is your financial situation?
Well, all of our holdings are tied up in the railroads.
Yeah, Reading Railroad, Beano Railroad, Pennsylvania Railroad.
I won second prize in a beauty contest. That's $50 right there.
Are you guys just saying monopoly stuff?
Dr. Hedlund, welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. I don't know about you, but it feels like I haven't talked to you in months.
Well, there's been a lot going on in the world, so even a day seems like a lot longer these days.
It does. First thing I want to talk to you about, of course, is this week, the Jerome Powell, the chairman of the I can't think of it right now. He indicated that possibly by the final quarter, there could be a lowering of interest rates. Is inflation being tamed, Dr. Hedlund?
Well, we have seen a couple of good months of data, which is positive news. So an inflation report just came out. That was good for the month, and the last month was also good. That, of course, had come in after a few bad months before that. And if you look at the entire 12-month period, we're still over 3%. So what I'd say is it's possible, but I wouldn't pull the trigger on that quite yet, because as we know, a lot of things can change. So, but hey, there's at least rays of optimism.
Dr. Hedlund, I know you generally stay in the public policy space, but I want to ask you a question that has a little bit of a political tinge to it, but I think it has strong public policy ramifications, and it focuses around the fact that there are a ton of folks who generally don't wade into the political sphere, like billionaire Richard Branson and others, who have said that, it's time for President Biden to drop out of the 2024 race. Now, Dr. Hedlund, my question is not necessarily geared towards your opinion on that, but my question is geared towards your opinion of it's not good for the United States of America, public policy wise, to have a commander in chief who is in such obvious cognitive decline, is it? I mean, there's the one thing the markets like and that the financial sectors like is certainty. Sometimes they don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican. They just want to know what policies are coming down the turnpike so they can prepare for them. When you've got Joe Biden in such a state where half of his party seems to be revolting against him, that's a dangerous place for the United States of America to be in general, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the past few years have been real bad news for the average person economically. So even, for example, when we talk about inflation cooling down, that's nice, but the reality is people have been pummeled the past few years, and prices are still up over 20% over the past few years. Credit card debt is at a record high. Delinquencies are on the way up. So we've had a lot of really bad policies, and I think we're seeing maybe some of the reason for why that may be. And frankly, whenever there is bad news, it seems like that DC just likes to spin it and pretend like it's good.
Dr. Hedlund, I know you have not won an economic prize yet in economics, or a Nobel Peace Prize, in economics, but 16 of your colleagues said this about the Biden economy and the programs. I want to ask you about it. Here's what he said. They said, while each of us has different views on the particulars of various economic policies, we all agree that Joe Biden's economic agenda is vastly superior to Donald Trump's. Your thoughts on that as an economist who hasn't won a Nobel Peace Prize yet?
Yeah, a totally absurd letter. And here's some news that I think is really relevant background information. A Nobel Prize in economics is not a lifetime achievement award. It is actually a prize for a specific contribution you make.
That's a good
point. You might have someone who made an amazing contribution on trade or some other issue, but when they take that kind of prestige of the Nobel Prize and act like they're experts on everything, honestly, it's kind of an abuse of the prize. And by the way, I believe the number is 11. 11 out of those 16 also signed letters at the beginning of the administration championing the exact same policies that have put us into massive inflation and massive debt. So they've kind of lost a lot of credibility in my eyes.
I hear you.
Dr. Hedlund, folks don't even need to, they don't need to look only at Joe Biden to see that the policies of his administration have been a failure. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're having such a tough time in some quarters deciding whether he needs to stay or whether he should go, because the folks that could step into his shoes don't seem to be any better, and many of them appear to be worse. I mean, Dr. Hedlund, one of the leading contenders appears to be Governor Gavin Newsom, but haven't we seen story after story? It seems like there's an avalanche of bad news coming out of the once mighty Golden State. And isn't it because all these aren't all these businesses closing down? Aren't all these people leaving California because of far left-wing liberal progressive policies, largely regarding the war against free markets and capitalism?
Well, it's a war against free markets, a war against capitalism. It's also just a war against the middle class and the entire middle class way of life. And we are in the midst of this affordability crisis. California is at the very front of the affordability crisis. I mean, people are leaving that state in droves because of high taxes, because it's impossible to buy a house that anybody can afford. It's just gone completely bonkers. And so when all the people talk about, maybe let's switch out Joe Biden for some other person, notice that none of the other people whose names are in contention disagree with the policies that have been in place the past few years. So they're really just advocating for the same type of failure that we've already been seeing.
Speaking with Dr. Aaron Hedlund from the Show Me Institute. Last week, Dr. Headland, the White House announced that the U.S. will levy a 25% tariff on Mexican imports containing steel from China and a 10% duty on products made with aluminum from China. Is this a good development?
We need to decouple ourselves strategically from China. So I think it is good news when we figure out the things that China's doing to get around us by sending goods to other countries and put a stop to that. And I think that's why you're hearing a departure of the old kind of purist free trade approach, which assumed that China was going to play by the rules and all these other countries are going to play by the rules. Look, if everyone played by the rules, I think more free trade is great. But the reality is China's not playing by the rules, and we need to push back on that pretty hard.
Dr. Headland, one of the leading indicators that the economists, the experts always look at is the housing market. And I'd love for you to give our listeners kind of an update in general as to, where are we with housing? Mortgage rates still at our historic highs. We had a massive shortage and then a surplus throughout the last few years because of the COVID pandemic. Where are we in general with housing? How are things going in the housing market in conjunction with the fact that we've also seen recent stories about the fact that many younger Americans are having a tough time pursuing what has been considered the American dream for generations, and that's home ownership.
And that's why I mentioned the war against the middle class, because that was a staple of a middle class lifestyle. Is when you want to start a family and you're relatively young, you can still find a starter home to buy, and you live there for a period of time, and eventually you can move up to a larger home and all those sorts of things. And it has never been more difficult to get a starter home at any point in our history. And that's a combination of interest rates that are high, and that's because of inflation, which was created by all this excess government. And on top of that, you have a shortage of houses that have been built for decade plus. So the combination of high prices and high interest rates is absolutely devastating people. I mean, the homeownership dream is like a homeownership nightmare. And the other thing is no one wants to get rid of their home either. No one wants to sell it. If you happen to have been lucky enough to get in the market and you locked in your mortgage at 3%, no one wants to sell. So this is why we need a totally different approach. The number one thing is to really slay the inflation dragon so rates can fall. And we also need to be building more.
Dr. Headland, consumer demand, I think, which is 2/3 of the economy, if I'm correct, seems to have tapered off a little bit this summer. How worried are you that service providing businesses may be slowing down their hiring because of that?
I am concerned about this, but I'm not surprised about it. If anything, there were all the kind of happy talk in 2023 about, the economy seems so good. GDP was kind of okay. Of course, they made it sound like it was great, but it was at least okay. But the reality is even that was kind of a deceptive image, because the reason consumer spending held up okay in 2023 is people were still sitting on tons of government money that had been sent out to them. I mean, at one point it was $2 trillion. That number is now zero. So people do not have any cushion to deal with inflation, which is why they're turning to their credit cards. They're tapping out the credit cards, and now they're defaulting. And that means they're going to start cutting back on their spending. So I am a bit concerned about it.
Dr. Headland, another major headline as we head into the weekend was from earlier this week. ConocoPhillips, the energy company, oil company, suing the Biden administration, probably getting in line behind many others over Alaska drilling restrictions. Dr. Headland, I think this is a great time to remind people as we head towards November that this administration has been waging a war against its own American energy resources and American business ever since they started in office. And that has been one of the major drivers, in addition to the massive amount of spending that's put us into this economically fragile situation, isn't it?
We are the most fortunate country on earth. We have inherited the Constitution and all the great legal protections that has. We have inherited natural resources across the country that are absolutely amazing. And the combination of lawfare, which won't go down that road, but lawfare is messing up our constitutional kind of strength, and then not tapping all the energy resources that we could have at our disposal. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. If we could tap that, if we could actually have across the board all the above energy strategy, we could have, again, more affordable lifestyle for the middle class, we could take it to China, and we could really have a much stronger economy than we've seen the past few years.
Dr. Headland, I know one of your specialties, of course, is the housing market, but I want to ask you about the office vacancy rate. According to Moody's, it reached 20% in the second quarter. That's the highest since Moody began tracking that sector. What are we witnessing here?
Well, what we're witnessing is a commercial real estate market that is on a very delicate pause. We have a lot, first of all, COVID and remote work has changed the landscape a lot. And frankly, there's a lot of office buildings that are grossly overvalued. And banks, and really no one wanted to take a hit on that because that's going to cause some turmoil. And what they're really waiting on is they're hoping that interest rates will fall any day now. And if interest rates fall any day now, then some of them will find a way to survive. Well, the question is, will that happen?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a really delicate situation.
Define a delicate pause.
Well, a delicate pause is, do interest rates go down in the next 3, 4, 5 months, in which case it might be a little bit bumpy, but kind of okay? Or does inflation really stay stubbornly above 2% and rates don't go down until 2025, in which case we could see some banks really being harmed?
And your prediction?
Oh, wow. That's I think at the end of the year, we'll see some relief, but it's going to be not a smooth ride until then.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Dr. Headland, the Biden administration wants to continue crowing about the fact that they think happy days are here again, and they always just point to one big, giant number that does not tell the tale of the full economy, as you and I and Chris have discussed many times, and that's that big overall employment number. They don't talk about job participation rate, labor participation rate. They don't dig much below the surface of all of these numbers. Dr. Headland, Is it a problem? I'm sure it's a problem. Is it a systemic problem that's going to have long-term lasting consequences that we've been in this high inflationary period as long as we've been in, right? I think we're approaching the 3-year mark now on historically high inflation, and coupled with a national debt that is knocking on the door of $35 trillion. Are those the type of factors that lead to crippling long-term systemic problems that makes the rest of the world worried about the strength of our nation?
Well, I think it's a big problem. Somewhere in there's a small opportunity, which I'll get to in a second. But the big problem is, for decades, we had low inflation. And people came to believe and trust that inflation was going to be low and stable. And therefore, some of those long-term interest rates that businesses rely on for kind of long-term investments were really low. Now that people have been shaken and they realize, inflation's not gone forever, it can come back, I am concerned that interest rates will never get as low as they could otherwise get, at least until that trust is rebuilt. Now, the small opportunity is, I think the American public has finally seen the consequences of big government. They've heard about the consequences of being bad for a long time, and maybe it seems hypothetical. Now it's not hypothetical. Right? They've seen it. So if that means that it's easier to rally their support behind more free market policies, then there's at least some ray of sunshine going forward.
Dr. Headland, the stock market and my 401k has been doing really well the last 4 to 6 weeks. The stock market has been setting records the last few days. My question for you, are the economic fundamentals there for this stock market rally to be sustained?
Well, I think it kind of depends on what policies we get in 2025. So I think the market is responding to two things. One is they're seeing some recent good news on inflation, which it doesn't erase the pain from the past, but at least is suggesting that rates may fall. So I think that's one thing driving markets. The other thing is I think they're anticipating a change in policies in 2025. I think they're anticipating, as of now, that the tax cuts that are set to expire will get extended, and the energy that we're not tapping will get tapped. And so I think those are good factors that are driving the markets.
We've been speaking with Dr. Aaron Headland, chief economist with the Show Me Institute. Dr. Headland, do you have a academic paper that you wanted to point us to that we could read this weekend while we're barbecuing or sipping a glass of Chardonnay?
Well, I mean, who doesn't like reading academic papers while drinking Chardonnay?
I guess that's no. Yes.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of things on my website that have to do with inflation and monetary policy and housing. So if people want to dive into that, you can go to aaronheadland.com, or especially go to showmeinstitute.org and see all the things we're writing about policy nationwide and in the state of Missouri.
Dr. Headland, you economists got to learn how to promote yourselves.
That's right.
Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right, Tim, it's almost over, and we got about 17 minutes to go. We'll have some light topics and things you may not have heard of. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Maine and
Yes, sir.
how many of those, what is it? Is it mooses or moose? How do you say a plural moose? Is it mooses?
Chris, it's one of those weird words. It's the singular and the plural.
Yeah,
It's
you're an English major. I forgot.
Chris, my daughter, Abby, my younger daughter's up here with me and my wife, and the older daughter's out in Wichita working at a campus summer. But on the way up, Abby, she's brilliant. And she said, it's geese, it's goose and geese. Why isn't it moose and meese? And I said, that's a great question, Abby. I have no idea. English is a strange language.
It's a very strange language, and it's the only language that I speak. And that's probably a good thing. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
That's not your mother. It's a man, baby.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Definitely a warm evening out there as temperatures drop through the 80s. Isolated showers possible, but not really likely. Should stay pretty dry with partly cloudy skies. It's a hot weekend. Saturday's high in the mid-90s. The heat index near or over 100. And by Sunday, we're going to be in the upper 90s, about 97, 98 degrees. And that heat index is going to be getting very close to 105. That's pretty dangerous heat. Air quality is an issue as well. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Danny Define here, host of the all-new show, The Next Gen, with me, Danny Define. We're going to cover all the hard-hitting topics on this show. National headlines and things happening right here in St. Louis.
Next Gen with Danny Define, Sunday nights at 8.
Right here on News Talk STL.
Hey, Columbo here for the great cleaning pros at Zero Res. Summertime in St. Louis means barbecues, graduation parties, and spending time with friends and family. And Zero Res knows how important it is to have your home as clean and healthy as possible for your loved ones. So they have an amazing summer offer for you. Book a cleaning in July and mention the Columbo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and a 4th room free. Just mention the Columbo special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
Liberal mega donors are always looking for new rhinos to do their bidding. And with Adam Schnelting, they found their new star. Adam Schnelting has already backed their radical plan to defund our police. And he skipped countless important conservative votes. Skipped a vote to protect kids from sexually explicit materials in school. And skipped a vote to protect churches from junk lawsuits. It's no wonder Adam Schnelting is bankrolled by Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden's top funders. Bill Cristofanelli is the only leader we can trust to protect our conservative priorities. When radicals tried to defund the police, Bill Cristofanelli passed record funding from Missouri's law enforcement. When Joe Biden left our southern border wide open, conservative Bill Cristofanelli banned sanctuary cities and voted to send Missouri National Guard troops to secure the border. Vote Bill Cristofanelli, the proven conservative, for state senate.
Gladius PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Gladius PAC, and is not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
So you want Steph's Pizza, but you're in Lake St. Louis and it's just too far to go. Not anymore. Now you can feed that Steph's Pizza craving quickly and conveniently in Lake St. Louis. Same great menu with a new location, 111 Pond Fort Trail in Lake St. Louis. Steph's Pizza in the Chesterfield Valley on Long Road, in St. Peter's on Jungerman, and now in Lake St. Louis. Check them out at Steph'sPizza.com because tonight's a good night for Steph's Pizza.
Does your life insurance plan include living benefits, hearing, diabetic supplies, teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones? Larry Connors here. I suggest you call Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial. Call 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, so I think she was not qualified to be president.
But he's fine. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 548. One of my favorite songs there from Duran Duran. I think that's from a Bond movie, isn't it, guys? I think so.
Oh, my God. I think you're right.
That's from a Bond. Isn't that from a Bond movie, Tim? A View with a Kill or something? That's the name of a Bond movie, I think. Is Tim Jones there? I don't think he's back with us yet. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. And, at the end of the program, we like to talk about something a little light, something you may not have heard of. Did you know AOC, the resident communist there in New York City, did you know that the Democratic Socialists of America, I think Tim's with us. Tim, the Democratic Socialists of America have rescinded their endorsement of AOC after she hosted an online panel discussion with two leading Jewish experts on anti-Semitism. So, boy, that really hurt your campaign when you lose the Democratic Socialists of America endorsement, I would think. What do you think?
Well, and is she no longer the darling of left-wing lunacy? I mean, Chris, if you're losing AOC on the left, then where do you turn to next? I mean, maybe sanity is reigning supreme finally in the country.
And the thing about it, Tim, I bet you these leading Jewish experts on anti-Semitism were two Jews that were pro-Hamas and thought that Israel was the aggressor in this and we're the occupier. So she's actually still on their side, but the fact that she shared a podium with two Jewish people was just too much for them. Because I would bet you and Ethan's paycheck that these Jewish experts on anti-Semitism were actually on her side on this thing. So absolutely crazy. Tim, do you ever feel lonely? You feel lonely? Ethan, you feel lonely? You lonely?
Yeah, I kind of like my alone time.
We're getting
Chris,
personal
every
here.
Once in a while. Yeah. What about you, Ethan?
Yeah, so what if I say yeah? I'm not sure where we're going with this.
Well, if you say that you feel lonely at times, you are not alone, gentlemen. According to a new Gallup poll that came out, 23% of people across the globe say they felt lonely a lot of the day.
A lot of the day.
Exactly. The U.S. comes in slightly below the average overall number, with 20% saying so. The share of people feeling lonely is more pronounced among younger adults than older ones. So you can kind of, if you were a young adult in a Joe Biden economy or Joe Biden world, it's not a lot to look forward to, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Chris, we're in a profession where we drink from the fire hose of information and knowledge almost 24/7. And I love the fact that we connect with a greater majority of the public than most people probably ever do. However, given that that's what we do, I kind of value my alone time every once in a great while where I can just sit and smell the roses and enjoy the sights and sounds of Mother Earth that God gave us, And so I don't know. I'm not maybe as subjected to the loneliness as other people because I kind of sometimes like the little breaks.
All right, let's talk about the Boston to Maine vacation there. Whose idea was this? You, your wife, the kids?
So 6 years ago, pre-COVID, we decided to return to the East Coast. My daughters were much younger at that time, and we decided to show them some of the places and stomping grounds that I experienced when I was up here.
That's cool.
So we did the whole thing, Chris. Six years ago, we did New York. I showed them Fordham University, where I spent 4 years. We went to Little Italy in the Bronx, and then we rented a car, drove to Boston, then drove to Bar Harbor. Had a great time, and it was one of those trips where we enjoyed it so much we didn't feel like we fully immersed ourselves into everything we could have done. Unfortunately, the older daughter couldn't join us this time because she's a young adult now, and she's at camp now, being a camp counselor out in Wichita. Abby, younger daughter Abby, she really likes Boston, and it's not. She doesn't enjoy. It's not because I think she's a liberal or anything.
Right.
I think she really enjoys, Chris, the Revolutionary War story. She really enjoys the sights and sounds of patriotic America. I love that she wants to know more about the founding of the nation. Yeah. She really loves all of that. So
Boston seems like it just oozes revolutionary history just all
Everywhere.
over the town. I would think you're
Everywhere.
inundated
And you
with
would,
it.
and Chris, you would love it too. And I have a place for you and Becky to
Oh,
go.
okay, good.
Next time you come up to Boston. We did something that I'm not sure I've done ever. I had to have gone in there when I was a kid, but I didn't remember it. And we went into the original, what they call the old State House.
Sure.
The old State House, right there in the center of town. Beautiful building that was built in the 1600s, right? And it was the site of it started off as being the edifice that the British built,
Mhm.
right? It was where the king's envoy, the governor at that time, lorded over the colonists. And then it switched into the site of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts' first capital. And so you walk in that building, you can smell the history, you can feel the history, and there's all kinds of interesting exhibits about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when you walk upstairs, they have what's called the council chamber, which was kind of like what their Senate was like. And then you have the House of Commons, which is like the House of Representatives in today's world. It's almost as if you can feel the history around you. Kind of get goosebumps when you're in places like that.
I can almost imagine. Now, Becky and I, a few years ago, we had a chance to go up to Maine. It was for some campaign work, but we were so honored and blessed to do it during the changing of the colors for the leaves. And it was just, that's the first time I had ever been up there during that time. And it was just absolutely magnificent. So what are the big sights in the summertime to see up there? Just a lot of greenery, I suppose, but the other things.
Yeah. And Chris, did they call you and Becky? Did they call you guys leaf peepers? That's what they call you. Leaf peepers.
No.
Yeah. They go, yeah, the leaf peepers are back. But summertime, Chris, we're really blessed and fortunate to be able to travel as much as we do. And I know you and Becky love traveling as well. This country is a big, vast place, and it's really cool to get out and smell the roses sometimes. So we're on the southwestern part of where the inlets are. So we're just to the south. We're about 15 minutes south by car of Bar Harbor, the famous Bar Harbor. So we're in a cute little town called Southwest Harbor, which is 15 minutes south. And Chris, it is idyllic. I posted a picture and I tagged the station. We're in this little 4-story little condo building built in the 1920s, and it looks out onto a scene that looks like a postcard. There's these little river inlets and little coastal inlets. All the little sailboats are parked out there. It's really gorgeous. So, Chris, this time of year, of course, it's the summer harvest. So the cherries and all the other fruits that grow during the summer up here. It's as bad as Maine might be in the middle of winter. It's really bountiful in the summer. There's tons of hiking for young and old, for advanced or amateurs. And so there's lots of sights to see. They have this little thing called Cadillac Mountain. It's not really a mountain, but I'd say it's comparable to like the Ozark Mountains. And so it's just a beautiful place to explore and to see nature and to eat a lot of fresh lobster and chowder.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Of course, I've got to ask you, where is the best lobster roll joint there in town? That's what we had to find out when we went up there.
I will let you know on Monday when I'm back on the program. I'll still be here Monday. I'm coming back to St. Louis on Tuesday, and my daughter found one of the famous lobster restaurants. So I'll let you know how good it is. And they're also known for their ice cream in this part of the world. The Mainers, as they call themselves, they love summertime because it's not very long, right? And so they really get out and they embrace the sunshine and the ice cream and the walking trails and all that.
And I would assume it doesn't get very hot up there either.
No, today by their standards, they would consider it's 82 today. So they would consider that kind of warm, but it's going to drop down into the 60s tonight. And then tomorrow, the high is supposed to be about 75.
All right. Larry Connors USA is up next. I will be on with Larry during the program talking about the debate and the convention. So you wanted to stay tuned to Larry Connors USA. You have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe. Have a great weekend.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Mayela Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmoscholars.org. That's herzogmoscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.